Okay, so welcome to the videos for Lab 7. We're going to be doing the cat anatomy associated with a muscle in the anterior neck and a couple of muscles in the anterior chest wall in this video. And we'll start with the anterior neck, and I'll point out differences between the cat and the human as we go. Okay, so this muscle that we're looking at right here is the equivalent to the human sternocleidomastoid muscle. Okay, now in the cat, this is actually just the sternomastoid muscle, but since this is a human anatomy course, we're going to call it by its human equivalent. Okay, and the sternocleidomastoid muscle has its origins from the manubrium of the sternum and the medial half of the clavicle, and it has its insertion on the mastoid process of the temporal bone, which is covered up by our cat's fur here. A good landmark for this muscle is this big dark vessel that you see here. It may be blue in your cat as you've been dissecting it. This is the external jugular vein. Okay, so that's a very good landmark to be looking at for this. Okay, so this particular muscle, when it's working with its companion on the opposite side, is responsible for flexion of the neck, and working as an individual muscle, it would give us rotation of the head. Okay, now let's move to the anterior chest wall. And we have a little bit of a complication in the cat because the cat has a few extra chest muscles here that we don't have to deal with. This one is an extra muscle, so we're just going to kind of flip this one out of the way a little bit. Okay, and then we have an extra muscle down here, so we're just going to kind of push that out of the way. Okay, so these two muscles are the muscles that we're interested in. This one that I'm lifting up now is the pectoralis major, and this one here is the pectoralis minor. Now in the human, the pectoralis major has a very broad set of origins from the clavicle, sternum, the cartilages of the first 6 ribs, and even the aponeurosis of the external oblique muscle. Okay, and in the human, it's so large and superficial that it actually completely covers the pectoralis minor, which is deep to it or internal to it in the human. Okay, so we can see in the cat that's not the case. In the cat, the pectoralis major is pretty much superior in most respects to the pectoralis minor, and it certainly doesn't cover the pectoralis major in its entirety, or the pectoralis minor, excuse me, in its entirety. Okay, so that's the pectoralis major. This muscle here, which is the larger of the two in the cat, is the pectoralis minor. The pectoralis minor has its origins from ribs 3 through 5 in the human, and it inserts on the coracoid process. Okay, and it's actually considered an accessory respiratory muscle because of its ability to pull on ribs 3 through 5, but its main job is to help with scapula placement. Okay, it can pull on the scapula via its attachment to the coracoid process and make it move anteriorly and inferiorly. Okay, now the pectoralis minor, as I said, in the cat is the larger muscle, and part of it lies inferior to the pectoralis major. Okay, this part here, there's a little bit here that's deep to it, but most of its mass is lying inferior to the pectoralis major. Okay, pectoralis major action I didn't mention. This is a very important muscle because it's our prime mover or agonist for flexion at the shoulder. And if you remember from lab, being a prime mover or agonist means that you're a muscle that's primarily responsible for that particular movement. Okay, it also assists with adduction and medial rotation at the shoulder. Okay, so that again is the sternocleidomastoid muscle, the pectoralis major, I'll lift up here, and the pectoralis minor.